Welcome back to the Bitcoin Zodiac. I hope you're amazing. Happy full moon in Scorpio. We have a lot to cover in the markets today. Astrologically, there is a lot going on. But first, let's just chat about what's been going on with Bitcoin. We've had a lovely run up. We love to see it. Beautiful. Always so proud of Bitcoin. And in our last episode, how I said, if we do get an expansion, then and it allows some rooms for the alts to run as well, this is a good time for you to consolidate your altcoin portfolio. You really want to be able to take this opportunity to get out of tokens that you don't want to be in for the remainder of the cycle and really have a strong portfolio moving forward. This is not an altcoin channel, and I am not an altcoin expert, but that's what I would recommend doing. So I hope you took that opportunity. But let's focus on what we've got ahead of us. My cat is going a little crazy in the background, so please ignore him. But we have the full moon in Scorpio on the 12th of May. So the full moon in Scorpio is deep, guys, it's deep. And so really the theme of this full moon is feel it to free it. So this full moon is not here to play nice. Scorpio does not do surface level. Like, it digs, it dives, it drags the truth up from the depths. And it really asks us to sit with it, to look at it, and to integrate it. So full moons are a culmination, like revelations. And when a moon peaks in Scorpio, the sign of shadow, of death, of taboo, of sex, of transformation, we're invited to face what we usually avoid. So the invitation here really is radical honesty and emotional courage. So it's the willingness to let go. Now, every full moon has a theme of letting go, but a, a Scorpio full moon is really like pulling it up from the roots to let it go and release it. So it's a lot deeper than usual. Scorpio's a water sign, and it's not the kind of water sign that just gently flows. It's the deep, still lake that holds the secrets beneath the surface. Like, there's bodies under there, where the bodies are buried. So under this moon, whatever has been buried, resentments, grief, power struggles, obsessions, that all gets illuminated. So it's not to punish us, but it's to free us, it's to liberate us. So this is a detoxifying new moon. So it's a moon that supports release rituals. So definitely therapy sessions, journaling out hard truths, shadow practices, crying in the bath, like whatever does it for you, anything that's breaking those soul contracts that keep us small. So the only way out is through, and the way that we meet our power is by meeting our pain. So the moon in Scorpio opposes the sun in Taurus, so it's challenging us to balance emotional intensity with earthly stability. Scorpio wants depth and Taurus wants peace. So together they ask, can we be safe in our emotional vulnerability? So look to the house like on your own chart that contains 22 degrees of Scorpio, because you'll be able to find on there where your spotlight is. So that's where you're being asked to release, to regenerate, and to reclaim. Also, it's a good time to just be doing releasing rituals. So as I said, shadow work is really, really good at this time to be diving into the depths of your shadow, the depths of your unconscious, and also writing like forgiveness letters. So to people that you need to forgive, or forgiveness letters to yourself. You'll never necessarily send these, but it's really good to get them all out. And you can also write a list of things you want to release, and that can be whatever you want it to be, whether it's a relationship, a friendship, a person, a belief, an old pattern, an attachment, a job, like anything that you want to release, write that down on a piece of paper, and you can either bury that or you can burn it. And if you are doing these practices, you also want to practice really good grief hygiene. And so you're also doing these like sacred grief practices as well as you're releasing. So it's not like a traumatizing kind of release for you. So don't forget that Scorpio is the alchemist. So what we touch under this moon really has the power to transform, not just emotionally, but spiritually. So you want to really feel your feelings, honor your truth, and reclaim your power. So what does this moment of culmination, illumination, and heightened emotional energy mean for BTC? So if you're new here, a full moon occurs when the moon is exactly opposite the sun. So it casts a spotlight, and metaphorically, it casts a spotlight on any tensions that must be released or any areas of our lives that need to be addressed. So in financial astrology, full moons often align with market turning points or price volatility, emotional crowd behavior like FOMO, or panic selling. Revelations often come to light, like hidden data, scandals, or critical news drops. And so Scorpio is a financial powerhouse in astrology. It rules other people's money, it rules debt, loans, taxes, shared resources, and wealth held in secret. So in offshore bank accounts, in crypto wallets, shadow banking, Fort Knox, China's central bank balance sheet, and all of these secret places they've squirreled away gold as well. Those things can all be revealed underneath a full moon in Scorpio. But it also rules over power, control, and psychological influence of the markets. So it also symbolizes cycles of death and rebirth. And so when a full moon lights up 22 degrees Scorpio, we're being asked to confront where power and emotion are influencing our financial decisions and how to purge financial entanglements that no longer serve us. So we can expect to see some themes of emotional volatility in the markets, as is pretty consistent with most full moons. Scorpio intensifies emotional responses, especially fear, greed, and attachment. So during this full moon, we might see some heightened volatility, especially if there are sudden revelations or emotional news events. So retail investors can panic, and we know how the market makers work. That's on purpose. And, whales at that time are quietly accumulating or exiting positions. And so you want to watch for sudden price spikes or sell-offs. Scorpio full moon often correlates with short-term peaks or dips, but avoid making overreactive decisions. So be aware of crowd psychology because full moons really exaggerate that. We could see some revelations about hidden assets or financial control. So Scorpio governs secrets and power dynamics. So this full moon could expose hidden manipulations in the markets, trigger investigations or revelations around central banks, crypto exchanges, regulatory bodies, Fort Knox maybe, bring institutional or government financial moves into the public light. In terms of Bitcoin, expect discussions around institutional holdings, sovereign wealth fund holdings, exchange solvency or regulations, and sovereign adoption or crypto crackdowns. So these revelations can really shake confidence short term, but in the long term, they decentralize trust, and that really benefits Bitcoin. So Scorpio is also the sign of transformation. So this full moon is a powerful time for letting go of risky or outdated strategies, clearing debt or restructuring your portfolio, and facing or releasing financial fear or guilt. So when the sun is in Taurus and the moon is in Scorpio, there's this tug of war that is going on. So between the stability, security, slow and steady gains of Taurus and the risk, intensity, and emotional leverage of Scorpio. So this opposition really asks, like, where are you too rigid in your investment strategies? And where are you emotionally reckless or obsessed? So you need to be able to strike a balance. This helps you avoid underperformance due to fear and also losses due to greed. So this full moon is not about fear, it's about financial truth. Scorpio reveals what's been hiding in the shadows so that we can step into greater sovereignty and control. Bitcoin embodies Scorpio energy. It's decentralized, it's powerful, and it's reborn from every crash. So use this full moon to align with that kind of power within your financial decisions. I'm pausing this episode for just a moment to share with you one of our partners, the Sculpt Society. I'm obsessed with TSS, created by celebrity trainer Megan Roop. It's not just another fitness app, it's the most fun you'll ever have working out. You'll find sculpt, strength, and dance cardio all in one super accessible method that actually works. Whether you have 10 minutes or 50, want low impact sculpting or full body dance cardio, the Sculpt Society has you covered. Inside the app, you'll find over 900 on-demand workouts and weekly live classes, plus curated programs that meet you wherever you are, beginner, advanced, or even pre or postnatal. There's no complicated choreography, no guilt, just movement that makes you feel confident and strong in your own skin. You can stream from any device, anywhere in the world, and even download classes to work out offline. It doesn't matter whether you're in your living room or in a hotel room. So if you've been waiting for a sign to get back into your body and feel good, this is it. Click on the link in the description box and join the Sculpt Society to start your 7-day free trial today. You'll feel the difference after just one class. Let's get back into the episode. So the next transit I want to cover is a really, quite a long-standing one. It actually started on May 4th, and it goes on all the way until October 13th. So that is Pluto in retrograde in Aquarius. We often talk about Pluto. We talked about it a lot when it was first moving into Aquarius, and now it's retrograding in Aquarius. So Pluto is the planet of power, control, destruction, and regeneration. It rules hidden forces behind financial systems. Sensing a bit of a theme here with these transits in these areas of debt, of wealth inequality, of centralization, and the evolution of the collective power structures. So when Pluto is in retrograde, its energies turn inward rather than seeing explosions on the surface. We experience slow brewing transformation beneath the surface. It's like being in a pressure cooker. So the change is happening, but it's not always visible until something bursts or reforms. So Aquarius is a sign of technology, of innovation, of decentralization, of revolution, of collective consciousness, of societal systems and networks. So when Pluto retrogrades in Aquarius, we are seeing a re-evaluation of power within tech, finance, and decentralized systems. Realistically, what we are likely to see is hidden power plays in tech and finance come to the surface. So Pluto retrograde can expose manipulative tactics or under the surface shifts in control within financial markets. So expect scrutiny around centralized platforms, governments, large institutions, regulations, particularly in areas involving AI, blockchain, and crypto. So watch for secret negotiations or data leaks involving big tech or financial power brokers, and tension between centralized and decentralized finance. You may even see some whistleblowers or investigations coming to the surface. We are likely to see a reassessment of decentralization and crypto. So Aquarius rules decentralized systems, making Pluto's retrograde here deeply relevant for Bitcoin. During this retrograde, investors and developers will rethink the core philosophies of decentralization. And this is the system truly open source? Is it democratic? Or do we have power plays hijacking the narrative? So expect price corrections, potentially retracements and slow consolidation phases during Pluto retrograde. I mean, it goes on for several months, so obviously we're not going to only see that. But this period may bring behind the scenes innovation, though it may not always be reflected immediately in the price gains. We will also likely see some tech stock volatility as well. So tech and AI-driven stocks could see like increased scrutiny, volatility, or correction. So watch out for government-led initiatives or restrictions, especially in the US, EU, and China, that affect AI governance, privacy, and surveillance. So just a bonus kind of astro insight into Pluto's transition into Aquarius. So as we covered previously on this channel, it moved into Aquarius in 2023, and it will be there until 2044. So this retrograde is part of Pluto's larger ingress into Aquarius. So it's not the major part. And so this longer standing transit and period of time in Aquarius will revolutionize digital currencies, governance models, and power structures, and will accelerate the death of fiat dependency, especially US dollar dependency, and it will usher in a new global financial order. So Bitcoin, as a decentralized Aquarian financial entity, stands to benefit enormously in the long term, despite shorter term shakeups during retrograde periods. So Pluto retrograde is a time of purging and deep restructuring. Sometimes it is a bit frustrating and it is a bit painful, but it's also necessary, right? It's necessary to tend to the foliage, right? So you may not see immediate gains, but this is when the real foundations for wealth transformation is laid. So use this time to get educated, to build emotional resilience, and align your financial habits to your higher values. Bitcoin will likely weather this retrograde with slow growth and some occasional volatility and deeper public discourse around its true purpose in a rapidly evolving world. Then on the 14th of May, we have transiting Chiron square Bitcoin's natal Neptune. Chiron is in Aries, so it's giving you this wounding and healing. And then it's square Bitcoin's natal Neptune in Capricorn, which is giving you vision and idealism. So there's tension being produced here, and there's a reality check coming with this transit. So the key words for this transit really are disillusionment, vulnerability, market confusion, emotional volatility, and belief system under pressure. What does this actually mean? So that for Bitcoin's natal Neptune to be in Capricorn. So what it means that this Bitcoin's Genesis block was mined. Bitcoin was born on January the 3rd, 2009, with Neptune in Capricorn, the sign of governments, of structures, financial institutions, and authority. Neptune represents Bitcoin's idealistic vision to dissolve corrupt systems and establish a decentralized, trustless future. So symbolically, Bitcoin is not just code, it is a dream of financial liberation, and it is a dream of the separation of money and state. So when a transiting Chiron is in Aries, it's giving the wound of independence. So Chiron brings this awareness of where we feel vulnerable and insecure, or wounded. So in Aries, this is about self-resilience, identity, pioneering efforts, and autonomy. So Chiron in Aries challenges our ability to lead independently without burning out or becoming isolated. The square aspect, which is the clash between pain and idealism. It forms a square when it's at a 90-degree angle. And this is a tense aspect that forces action, growth, or confrontation. So Chiron being square Neptune is a painful reality check about what we believe is true. So Bitcoin's natal dream of replacing the system, Neptune and Capricorn, now faces healing crises, public skepticism, and structural pressure from Chiron and Aries. We could see a bit of a narrative around the loss of faith in the Bitcoin dream. I've seen quite a lot of that actually recently. And so Bitcoin enthusiasts and investors may question the idealism surrounding decentralization, freedom, and trustless systems. And we could see waves of disillusionment, failed platforms, exposed fraud, ideological splits within the community. So we could also see some emotional market reactions. So Neptune governs sentiment, and when it's under stress, confusion, fear, or euphoria can dominate. So Bitcoin price may show some irrational sentiment-driven volatility rather than technical clarity. So traders may be influenced by misinformation, conspiracy narratives, or emotionally charged market sentiment. We may also see a mistrust of institutions, both old and new, under this transit. So Chiron square Neptune may well dissolve public trust in both traditional systems, as in banks and governments, but also in new ones like DeFi, Web3, DAOs, and those sorts of things. Legal or regulatory events could erode faith in various crypto platforms or tokens that can be decentralized, that like claim to be decentralized, but actually aren't. So really the only thing that stands in amongst that is Bitcoin itself, right? So what you really want to do is detach from the hype and tribalism. You want to have the conviction yourself. Like you don't want to just be following influencers or your neighbor or the Bitcoiner down the road. Everybody that is, orange pilling is doing a fantastic job and is amazing. But once you cross over, you really want to educate yourself and have an understanding for yourself and have conviction for yourself. You want to reassess why you're in Bitcoin. So belief should be grounded in reality, not in fantasy. So you want to practice cautious optimism. Expect temporary pain just as part of the evolution of the ecosystem. That's part of hodling. It is a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it can be exhausting at times, but it's also super fulfilling. And when you do have that understanding of what Bitcoin is, what it came here to do, then you can move forward and you can ride out those storms in a much more sort of graceful way, right? You want to use strict risk management if you're trading at this time, especially if you're trading altcoins, and also vet all of your sources. So during Neptune's transits, misinformation spreads really fast, so you need to verify everything. And just don't blindly trust in new projects or in people, in gurus and what have you. You don't want to be doing that. So Chiron and Neptune squares expose the illusions of leaders and false promises and those sorts of things. So it is a healing opportunity. It sounds kind of negative. It sounds kind of negative, but it's really not. It's a healing opportunity, and it gives you an opportunity to reclaim the why of Bitcoin. So this transit really asks you, what is your relationship to freedom, to truth, to financial sovereignty beyond all the hype, While the collective may doubt Bitcoin's promise, those who reflect, reassess, and adapt will emerge wiser and much, much more resilient than those who choose to not. So I would definitely recommend that. So Chiron offers a healing invitation to refine our understanding of what decentralization truly means to us personally and how to embody it sustainably. So not just ideologically. So Bitcoin must survive not only market crashes, but spiritual crashes as well. And that's like what we're seeing in the collective. Like, this is really a time of like awakening for the collective. And so there's sort of two types of people, those who are aware of this and who have done the work around this. And, you know, you can be woken up in a couple of different ways, right? Like, you can slowly, beautifully wake up as the sun, you know, dappled sunlight comes through your light, or you can be woken up with a start. And so that really just depends, like, what space you're in. So if you've kind of done the work around a lot of this stuff, then it's not going to be too much of a surprise for you. It's not going to startle you. You're going to be prepared for it. But if you haven't, then, you know, this year is going to be like quite a lot for you, I think. So every decentralized ideal must be tested through crisis. And true decentralization is not utopia. It's a long journey of integrity and personal responsibility. On May 17th, we have Uranus Cazimi in Taurus. And for those of you that are new, I always like to highlight the Cazimis. And what that is it's an ancient Arabic term meaning in the heart of the sun. So it refers to a planet's exact conjunction with the sun, and it's considered a moment of empowerment, insight, and rebirth. So the Uranus is a planet of disruption, innovation, and sudden change. And when that sits exactly in the heart of the sun, which is, you know, the core, vitality, visibility, and consciousness, and that happens in Taurus, which represents money, value, security, assets, and earth, it's a rare and potent lightning bolt for financial awakening. You can expect sudden revelation around value and wealth. And this is what I mean about an awakening. Like, we can either be startled awake, or we can, you know, we're already awake. And so we're just sort of, you know, easing our way into it and waiting for everybody else to wake up too, right? So this could be a sudden revelation around wealth and value. And this Cazimi brings an electrifying moment of clarity about what we truly value and how money and wealth are being redefined. So also the role of technology, AI, and decentralized systems in disrupting old economic models. So Bitcoin is Uranian by nature, so it's born under a strong Uranus signature, and is really likely to respond positively or dramatically, especially if it's tied to new tech news, regulatory clarity, or global financial system shifts. So just think of it as a light bulb moment for the collective around digital assets and Bitcoin. So see, I told you that the like questioning didn't last for too long, like the disillusionment or the questioning of the promises of Bitcoin didn't last for too long. So also expect some maybe disruptive market volatility, potentially up or down. Uranus brings spikes, crashes, breakthroughs, and shocks, especially near exact aspects. So during this Cazimi window, expect price swings, and like mainly in crypto and commodities, potentially Forex as well. It's obviously tied to countries themselves. And Bitcoin may experience a sudden spike or correction, especially if it aligns with like technical breakout levels. So we've got gold, silver, and other, you know, Taurus related assets may also show some abrupt movement. We may also see some increased adoption or technological integrations. There may also be some like ETF news or also CBDC updates. There may be surprising regulatory breakthroughs or policy pivots, institutional announcements around Bitcoin or blockchain in general. So eyes will be on innovation and legitimacy. So there will also probably be a heightened collective nervous system activity. So it's like anything electricity connected. Like Uranus rules electricity, it rules tech, and it also rules our nervous system, which is like our electrical circuit. So you may notice that markets are moving faster, and you may notice yourself in your own body feeling jittery or overstimulated or impulsive. You know, you need to have the ability to ground, and especially ground around your decisions. Taurus, that's where that Taurus energy comes in. Like it urges that slowness, and where Uranus says speed up, this tension can cause like mistakes if you aren't centered. So you want to be able to ground and center yourself. Interestingly enough, there are some like historical Uranus Cazimi insights. So when Uranus meets the sun, historical patterns do tend to show. So in the Uranus Cazimi between 2009, 2010, that was in Pisces, and that was like the birth of Bitcoin. In 2017, Uranus Cazimi before entering Taurus was like setting the stage for Bitcoin to go mainstream, or not even Bitcoin, but crypto to go mainstream. So every Cazimi brings market reversal shocks and fresh narratives. So this Cazimi could be a pivot point as well into a new financial storyline, especially for Uranian assets like Bitcoin. So this is really a portal to radical clarity and rebellious financial empowerment. So if Taurus asks what is stable, Uranus answers only change. So change is the only constant. And that is what we're being reminded of here in this Uranus Cazimi. So it really reminds us that wealth isn't just stored value, it's actually the ability to adapt, to innovate, and to stay awake. On May 18th, we have Jupiter in Gemini square the lunar nodes in Pisces and Virgo. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion, optimism, risk-taking, speculation, philosophy, law, and wealth. And then the lunar nodes, we have the North Node, which is currently in Virgo, and that is our collective evolutionary direction, where we're headed. And then we have South Node in Pisces, which is our past patterns. What are we releasing or integrating? When we have a square aspect, which is 90 degrees, it creates tension and a turning point. So it challenges us to evolve beyond our comfort zone. So when Jupiter squares the nodes, it is said to be at a karmic crossroads. So it's a skipped step in evolutionary astrology terms. So where growth is possible only through conscientious integration. So a skip step is a concept that comes from Jeffrey Wolf Green's school of thought, which sees the nodes as our soul's journey. So the South Node represents our past life patterns or unconscious habits, and the North Node is showing the direction of soul growth. So a planet squaring both nodes is said to represent a karmic issue that wasn't fully resolved in the past. So it now demands conscious integration. So in this case, Jupiter is the skip step. So Jupiter, expansion, belief systems, truth, risk-taking, wealth, and philosophy. This means there's unfinished karmic business related to how we believe in things, like blind faith versus facts, or trust institutions or markets, or approach wealth, abundance, and risk. So we're at a karmic crossroads. And so in practice, you and the collective are now forced to make a conscious choice. Will you evolve with the North Node, or will you repeat the same patterns and mistakes leaning into the South Node? So we can expect some potential bubbles and maybe some quite sudden corrections. So Jupiter and Gemini can inflate narrative-driven hype, especially around fast-moving, tech-focused assets like Bitcoin. So with the square to the nodes, there may be a speculative peak based on hopeful Pisces rather than factual Virgo, which is, Virgo reasoning. So there may be speculative a speculative peak based on that. And then a major reality check or correction could follow. So if markets realize that they are overextended, then, we could expect quite a sharp correction. So watch out for fake news, influencer hype, pump and dump cycles, or unsustainable gains. So I cannot stress enough that as we come into, Jupiter season, you really want to be careful about who you listen to. So be really careful about influencers. Oftentimes, crypto influencers are paid. Even if they're not paid in cash, they're paid in tokens to promote specific products, right? So projects and things like that. So you want to be really, really careful, whether that's a fund, whether that's specific tokens. You want to be careful, and you want to be able to have a full understanding yourself. If that information is not available to be able to gain a full understanding, stay well away from anything like that, because that's usually when you get into this, like, just follow the influencer vibes, and it never ends well. It never ends well. So don't go there. I don't want any of you getting caught up in this nonsense. Expect to see also information wars and market confusion. Now, I expect this not only to be information wars, but information wars that come from the fog of actual war. So we have Russia, Ukraine, we have Israel, Palestine, and now we seem to be having India, Pakistan, right? So I think that there's a lot of confusion that comes out of markets. India, huge impact on financial markets. I could really see through these tariffs and things like this that India was actually one of the winners out of the tariff sort of situation, and was really being able to be positioned to pick up the overflow of manufacturing. It already has been, it's already a huge manufacturing hub anyway, but, really benefiting from this, conflict between China and America. So it's quite interesting to see how these things sort of play out, but just be aware of that, because we have Gemini and Jupiter and then Pisces and the South Node. And so that equates to misinformation or conflicting data. So expect mixed signals in the market, bullish sentiment despite bearish indicators, or vice versa. So some confusing economic data, Fed miscommunication as per usual, or misleading headlines. We expect to see a lot of that sort of thing. So Bitcoin may whipsaw a little bit based on sudden shifts in sentiment, news, or, social media buzz and hype. We're also looking at legal, regulatory, or philosophical turning points. So Jupiter rules laws, regulations, belief systems, and Gemini rules communications, media, and tech. So this square can kind of bring pivotal news or decisions related to Bitcoin regulations. Again, ETFs or global, Bitcoin or crypto frameworks. So possible clashes between old institutions, Pisces, Virgo, and new digital paradigms represented by Gemini. Public debate over what truth means in financial systems. And this is, I think, going to be a really strong narrative going forward, and something that's really going to be contested, which sounds ridiculous. Like, how can you debate truth? But, everything in this world really is going to be debated, whether it's truth or not. And Bitcoin is a decentralized truth ledger at the end of the day. So it may be spotlighted or challenged, or there may be an attempt to overshadow and sort of like narratives around, oh, we're introducing this new CBDC. Bitcoin is great, but it's old technology. And now here's our new technology that we can coincidentally control and print at will, right? So be aware of those kind of narratives coming through, right? Definitely verify all news sources and ground your investment thesis both in data, Virgo, and intuition, Pisces. So avoid blind faith in narratives, especially in personalities. This is definitely a Pisces South Node trap, and it's one that we have relived and repeated in the crypto market many cycles over. So let's change the narrative on that, shall we? And also just avoid trading or chasing moves based on Twitter threads. I mean, I'm not sure that any of us do that anyway. I certainly don't go into the deep black hole of crypto Twitter very often, but yeah, if that is you, then stay away from that a little bit. This square really pushes us to reconcile idealism with analysis. So trust, but also verify, it challenges financial participants to choose consciousness over convenience, and that is always the trap that we fall into as human beings, is that we choose convenience over the reality of the situation. That's always what gets us into trouble. It's how we ended up with central banks. And so I'm not going to labor on that point too much, but just be aware of that as well. Yes, it's inconvenient to self-custody, but there's a cost involved, there's a risk involved when you don't self-custody.
I'm briefly interrupting this episode to speak to you about one of our partners, Ritual Supplements, and in particular, Ritual Stress Relief. It's the first of its kind supplement powered by BioSeries technology. Unlike typical stress supplements that fade, Ritual's dual action formula gives you instant calm followed by all-day support. It works with your body's natural cortisol rhythm, helping you respond instead of react, ground instead of spiral. Its unique extended release blend delivers nature's calming adaptogens like ashwagandha and lemon balm when your body actually needs them. That means no crash, no fog, just clarity, focus, and nervous system balance. It's a sigh of relief that keeps going. So if you have spikes in your stress levels or are simply feeling dysregulated, give Ritual Stress Relief a try. Click on the link in the description box to find your perfect daily ritual. Okay, now that we found our Zen, let's get back to the show.
Then we have May 19th. We have two aspects actually on May 19th that I want to highlight, positive ones. The first one is super positive, and we have transiting Jupiter conjunct Bitcoin's natal midheaven. So again, Jupiter is the great expander. It symbolizes growth, abundance, optimism, and belief systems. So in markets, it often amplifies whatever it touches, for better or for worse, honestly. But this transit, I think it's for the better. And in particular for Bitcoin, like the other transits we've been talking about, not all of them are specific to Bitcoin. They're like the collective macro transits. So these positive ones are specific to Bitcoin. So the midheaven is about public status and reputation. So the midheaven in a chart like reflects career, visibility, and public standing. So for Bitcoin, it really represents how it's seen publicly, including institutional perception, public adoption, regulatory visibility, legitimacy as a financial asset. So Jupiter conjunct the midheaven equals public expansion. So this rare transit suggests that Bitcoin is entering a phase where its public image grows rapidly and its status on the global financial stage becomes elevated. So we're likely to see increased institutional public interest. Jupiter's influence suggests mainstream recognition or even institutional FOMO. So, those institutions are going to have some FOMO. So expect news headlines, ETF flows, or public endorsements. Bitcoin may be seen as more of a legitimate asset, appealing to new demographics or investor classes. So expect news headlines to be really positive. To be honest, this is usually a market top signal. Like when CNBC come out and are like, Bitcoin is amazing, that's usually a top sign. So let's see how that plays out. But we could see a potential for a price surge here as well. So this alignment really favors bullish price action for Bitcoin. So the market is likely to respond positively to any good news, inflating price due to optimism. So expect expansion of regulations or frameworks. So Jupiter also governs legal systems and belief structures. So you might see regulatory announcements, frameworks, or tax guidelines, some of which elevate Bitcoin's credibility. Like Bitcoin just flipped Amazon to become the 5th largest asset in the world. This is not nothing. This is something. And so we're going to start to see more narrative shift towards that understanding. So it's a really good time to deeper educate yourself, and others about Bitcoin, and consider building or refining your crypto portfolio. As I said, you'll get that opportunity. But don't blindly chase hype. Like, you want to be very strategic about this. So watch for over-optimistic spending or gambling behaviors, as Jupiter can really inflate like risk appetite. And, also in regards to your crypto portfolio, as I've kind of said, since Bitcoin broke all-time highs at around 70K, this is really the time that we have been in price discovery since that time. And I've been saying this, that it's, I'm a diehard Bitcoiner. There's not a bad time for me to buy Bitcoin, in my opinion. However, there are better times, right? And so you need to be aware that if you are purchasing your first Bitcoin at this time, I'm not advising you against it, but I am just advising you that the risk is quite high and you may only feel good about that the next cycle. So do I expect Bitcoin to go up for another leg of the bull run? Yes, I do. But can I guarantee that? Absolutely not. We will be in price discovery when we flip these all-time highs again. And so no one knows. Anyone that tells you that they know for sure, especially those people that tell you without giving you any kind of, they're not showing you their workings at all. I wouldn't recommend that you lean into that so much. There are really amazing people that are showing incredible indicators and graphs and, charts and what have you, and models based on historic price action. They are phenomenal. Definitely we align to those. However, they are just models at the end of the day as well, and they can break too. So just be a bit cautious and a bit aware. Buying into altcoins, again, I'm not the altcoin expert, but I would say that we are too late in the cycle to be taking risks on altcoins. If you're already in, good for you. You want to manage that portfolio now really strategically. But for me, the risk is too high buying altcoins at this point in the cycle. So, do I expect them to go up as well? Yes, I do. But again, the risk reward, we can't really measure at that point in time. So Jupiter conjunct Bitcoin's midheaven marks a sort of coming of age moment. So it's really like this moment from being an outsider to being a Wall Street contender. Now, usually I don't really give a shit about Wall Street, to be honest. I don't think that's a compliment to Bitcoin to be a Wall Street contender. However, it is still the world that we live in. And so this is just a next stepping stone for Bitcoin to go beyond Wall Street, to be quite frank. It's a cosmic green light for reputation, for growth, and which tends to precede or coincide with price acceleration, right? So especially when it's supported by global interest and belief in Bitcoin's future. So we've had a real mixed bag of perception, right? It's been kind of a roller coaster from, questioning Bitcoin's promise and Bitcoin's future to really being aligned to, what we know Bitcoin is. The other transit that's happening on the 19th of May as well is we again have Jupiter transiting Jupiter. It's also sextile Bitcoin's natal Chiron. So again, I don't need to explain Jupiter again. It's the expander. And Chiron again is the wounded healer, symbolizing deep vulnerabilities and old wounds. When it's a sextile, which is 60 degrees, it's a harmonious opportunity. So it's a soft, positive aspect. So it doesn't force change, but it offers an open door for healing and progress if consciously acted upon. So whereas the previous aspect that I just spoke about, this is quite a aggressive positive aspect, which is great. But we also have, on the same day, we have this soft positive aspect going on in the background as well. So, and doing this kind of healing work in the background, which is amazing. So yeah, it's a time of healing market wounds. This transit suggests a period of recovery after previous crashes or fear cycles. And Jupiter supports the restoration of belief in Bitcoin's long-term value, especially among skeptics. So as I said, it's like this soft recovery momentum. So while this, is not like the other aspect, which is like an explosive rally, it points to a steadily improving tone in the market. So it's beautiful that we kind of have those both alongside each other. So investors may feel safer to re-enter, and confidence kind of grows gradually. So expect to see a bit of a narrative shift. Watch for news cycles again, as I said, that reframe Bitcoin's story. They'll now be saying Bitcoin proves its resilience, and Bitcoin rebounds after trust breakdowns of the past, or institutions renew interest despite the volatility. So expect to see those kind of headlines again, as I say. When mainstream media gets involved, that's usually when we're getting out, to be very fair, but let's see how that goes. And then we have Jupiter's influence that can also reshape the story people tell themselves about Bitcoin, and the story. And, at the end of the day, stories and narratives, that's what moves the market. So that's the truth, So this transit really invites a collective healing in how the public relates to Bitcoin as a concept. So from being seen as risky, damaged for criminals, whatever, toward being recognized as resilient, anti-fragile, and worth trusting. So Bitcoin shows that it's not broken, it's been battle tested. And I honestly think that the biggest battle test for Bitcoin and for all markets, to be honest, is coming after this period in 2026. And that's when Bitcoin is really going to prove its resilience. And I don't think other markets are going to survive. So just a heads up on that one. But, we can see through the previous cycles of Bitcoin that it's been battle tested and it's come out more resilient than ever. So then we have on the 22nd of May, we have Venus trine Mars, and Venus, relates to money, value, assets, relationships, pleasure, and attraction. So Mars is synonymous with action, drive, momentum, and assertiveness. So a trine, which is a 120-degree aspect, is a harmonious flow of energy, of mutual support, of ease and creative synergy. So when Venus and Mars form a trine, they create a protective and magnetic energy that blends financial desires, which is represented by Venus, with action and ambition in Mars. So it's like your passion and purchasing power are in alignment. which is pretty powerful. So again, positive aspect. And this is actually a positive aspect for the macro too. So for everybody, not just Bitcoin, but you can see increased confidence in the market. So this aspect typically boosts market sentiment and people feel more confident acting on their desires. Traders are more inclined to take calculated risks, especially in high momentum assets like Bitcoin. Balanced risk taking. So you'll see, this trine fosters a healthy mix of desire and strategy. So you have the emotional harmony of Venus, the strategic execution of Mars, and they lead to measured but assertive investments. So expect smoother volatility, price swings that are driven by organic momentum and not by panic or hype. So we expect some positive momentum for Bitcoin during this aspect. And so as Bitcoin is often seen as like a risk on asset, it's actually like not by me. I see it as like my conservative safe haven asset actually, but it benefits during periods when market actors feel bolder and more harmonious. So this aspect can really spark a short-term rally or a surge in trading volume. So also this market for the last, this whole bull market really has been a short-term traders market. Like if you can trade, then you've been winning in this market. So now we're stepping into the realms of more the mid-term trading opportunities, the swing traders, the momentum investors. And so you guys could find, and myself included, can find this aspect favorable, especially if Bitcoin is already showing signs of like upward trend continuation. So it's a great time also for collaboration-based ventures, crypto partnerships, DAO launches, NFT projects, or like any creative Web3 finance platforms. So use this energy for market engagement rather than sitting on the sidelines. So while the trine brings harmony, it's not a long-lasting aspect. So don't mistake this short-term passion for long-term stability. So just take advantage of it while it's there. Avoid overestimating gains or getting caught up in the romance or fantasy of your investments. Venus's pleasure principles can lead to aesthetic overvalue. Bitcoin can be seen as a bold but beautiful asset, like an alluring mix of value and power. So we may see money in motion kind of stories, emphasizing action, movement, synergy in the financial ecosystem. So whale wallets, exchanges buzzing, central banks buying, like those kind of stories, expect to hear them around this time. So if you're actively trading, use this aspect window to engage with the market intentionally, launch or announce creative financial offerings, strengthen your portfolio, balance between risk and reward. And this is a moment of harmony between desire and action, which often leads to confident, smart investing when timed correctly. So May 24th, we have Saturn entering Aries. And when Saturn enters Aries, it initiates a brand new 29.5-year cycle of structure, responsibility, and karmic lessons. So in financial astrology, this is a big deal. And this will be in Aries for about 2.5 years. So we have Saturn, which, symbolizes rules and structure, discipline, regulation, restriction, and long-term planning. And then we have Aries, which is about initiation, independence, assertiveness, impulsivity, and like a warlike energy, and also around entrepreneurship. So when Saturn enters Aries, it combines order with raw force. So this transit puts ambition under discipline, risk under rules. So this ingress typically signals like a collective push for independence, new beginnings, and bold enterprise. But there can be also some friction and some growing pains as well. And so this is sort of the last aspect that I'm looking at coming into that new moon. So just be aware of, after these, following these really positive aspects, we just have some others that are going to keep us in check a little bit as we come into that new moon in Gemini. So we have Saturn in Aries from 2025 this year to 2028. So the themes for this transit is like new economic cycles begin. So this marks the start of financial reality reset. So governments, banks, and institutions may begin enforcing new frameworks, especially around decentralized tech, AI, and blockchain. So Aries wants to go fast, and Saturn demands we go slow. So expect some tension between innovation and regulation, right? So you can expect some friction between Bitcoin, crypto, DeFi, and like legacy systems. So Bitcoin also may face an identity check or stress test during this transit as well in the next couple of years. And so Bitcoin, the pioneer, that Aries archetype, is facing the stern teacher of Saturn. So we may see like increased scrutiny on Bitcoin's legitimacy, especially regarding sovereignty, privacy, and taxation. So again, our governments can't really regulate Bitcoin itself, but they can regulate their citizens that hold Bitcoin. And so I think that we are going to start to see a bit of that coming in as well. So just be a bit aware of that. Governments may introduce restrictive or defining legislation, and Bitcoin could emerge more respected, but not without battle scars. So I could absolutely see the United States, making it illegal for its citizens to hold over a certain amount of Bitcoin privately, in the same way that they did with gold. I'm not saying that that's going to happen today, but I just, want you to be aware of that, so that if it does sort of come up on your radar, then you know what decision you would make, right? So in the short term of this transit, we may see some volatility as markets sort of adjust to any new rules or fear restrictions. And institutional players may become a bit more cautious, and sideways, or we might see some sideways or downward pressure. In the mid to long term, Bitcoin will survive and prove its utility and resilience, and it will become a mature store of value through these trials, through these stress tests, even amid restrictions. So I think my biggest concern around Bitcoin is not will it survive these stress tests, or not will it become a legitimate store of value, but more whose store of value will it be? Will it just be held on the balance sheets of central banks and sovereign wealth funds, nation states, or will it be in the hands of the people, a store of value for people? And I think that that's definitely something that we should all continue to think about when it comes to our own Bitcoin strategy. Key sectors to also watch during this transit for those 2 years: defense and cybersecurity. Aries and Saturn really favors boundaries and security. So keep an eye on that. We obviously also have, we've been in a period of endless wars. We have India, Pakistan, hopefully in ceasefire, and that ceasefire will hold. We have still going on Russia, Ukraine, still going on against Israel, against the Palestinians, so obviously defense and security, and particularly cybersecurity also is something to watch during this transit. Also, you'll see a lot of new narratives around AI governance and ethics. Web3 legal infrastructure, blockchain identity verification, and digital ID regulation. Again, I think Efrat is really doing a great job of keeping an eye on these things. But the Bitcoin narrative during this Saturn in Aries transit is really about Bitcoin going from rebel to respectable. So this is the chapter where Bitcoin may be forced to mature over the next couple of years. It's still a symbol of freedom and rebellion in Aries, but now it has to earth its place in the world's financial architecture. And that's what Saturn is demanding of it. So the friction will be real, but so will the gains for those who can adapt strategically to this. So Saturn entering Aries is like the CEO entering the startup's war room. Bitcoin and the broader crypto economy as well are about to be challenged. So not to destroy them, but to see if they can lead responsibly. So this is not the time for reckless speculation. It's the time to build wisely, pivot carefully, and really think long term. So that really takes us into the end. It takes us into this new moon in Gemini, and it really will mark a powerful reset in the realm of communication, commerce, and digital exchange, making it a highly significant new moon for financial markets, especially for assets like Bitcoin, which operate within the decentralized information-driven economy. So Gemini energy thrives on adaptability, on data, and speed, suggesting a potential surge in like trading volume and market chatter and short-term speculative movement. So this lunation favors quick pivots and light-footed strategies. So definitely stay informed. And for us, it's an ideal time to set intentions around learning new tools, diversifying digital assets, and also diversifying how you're storing your Bitcoin. Like this is something that's important as well. It's covered in my crypto self-custody course. It's a completely free course. You can find that at the bitcoinzodiac.com/education. And it's really the best time for that as well. So redefining, your strategy moving forward. So expect a flurry of news around that new moon, announcements or regulatory buzz to shape sentiment. So stay agile, but also stay grounded. And we will discuss and go deeper into this new moon when we come closer to the time. So have a wonderful, beautiful full moon time exploring the depths of Scorpio. And for those of you going to be at the Bitcoin Island conference, I look forward to meeting you. And for the rest of you, I will see you next time. Until then, peace, love, and Bitcoin.